Let me make something clear. Steven Universe is my favorite cartoon. Mentioning that any form of media happens to be your personal favorite in its category is often a bit of a slippery slope. If I were to say that mac and cheese was my favorite food, you might assume that I think it's the best food objectively. Just like I can recognize that filet mignon is better than mac and cheese, I can also recognize that Steven Universe is not the best cartoon ever made. There's a lot to like about Steven Universe. The music is wonderful, the backgrounds are gorgeous, the character dynamics are solid, and the voice acting is great. But if I'm ignoring my complete bias towards the series as a whole, there is so much wrong with it as well. I'm not going to have time to get through every single flaw, but I do want to break a couple of them down. Nitpick number 1, tonal whiplash. You guys remember Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? I feel like it's become the gold standard for cartoon writing in general. Avatar managed to balance humor, drama, and lore so well throughout its dialogue in a way that cartoons still struggle with today. Steven Universe, however, is the complete opposite. There is a constant torrent of tonal whiplash in this show. It was at least somewhat tolerable in the first season or two because I know that the series was just trying to work out its kinks. But the fact that it continues well into season 5 is honestly kind of insane. I have a vague theory about why this keeps happening though. The reason why Avatar was so good at balancing light comedy and drama is because it kept its characters consistent. Here's a quick example. Prince Zuko is super angsty and dark all the time. However, he has quite a few humorous moments throughout the series. Is Zuko funny because he belts out one-liners and spews quips? No, he's funny because he's socially inept. He's almost a fish out of water in a lot of cases. Or should I say a fish out of fire? Steven Universe lacks this amount of consistency. Throughout the show, stone-cold characters will be uncharacteristically wacky, lighter characters will be weirdly serious out of nowhere, and imposing or deadly characters will completely lose that facade in a way that lacks any real impact. Of course, I understand that sometimes people's personalities can change over time. That's just character development. But I'm not talking about a delicately woven string of events leading to a dramatic alteration in a character's outlook on life. I'm talking about jarring, moment-to-moment discrepancies in the way a character acts or feels. It's not development, it's just bad writing. Nitpick number 2. The aliens don't feel alien enough. Okay, this one is a bit of a stretch, even for me. I think that it's okay for fictional aliens to act like people because in most cases, the aliens are more of a backdrop for the story. For example, Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't necessarily need to take place in space, because as ironic as it might seem, it isn't tied to the concept of space. With a little bit of tweaking, you could turn the story into a Western flick or a more standard superhero movie. Of course, the aspect of it taking place in a fictional galaxy makes the story way cooler. If you look at the plot in a vacuum, it can take place in a multitude of alternate settings. This same luxury, however, does not apply to Steven Universe, because half of the story revolves around convincing an invading alien government that humankind is intelligent and shouldn't be blown to pieces. I remember there's a scene where the diamonds are looking at one of the humans and they're like, wow, look at this stupid animal. But both the alien super government and the human dude are speaking in English with a similar level of diction. So why the hell would he be considered a lower life form if he's clearly capable of complex speech? Anyway, I'm getting off track. I feel like it makes sense for the crystal gems to act more like humans because they've been on Earth for so long. But why would a tyrannical dictator, who despises emotion and human perception, ever act like a human? I feel like the gems on Homeworld should speak an alien language. Or at the very least, even a cop-out like Steven is half gem so he can understand them would be good enough for me. But nah, we got nothing. I've also toyed around with the idea that gems can take on a human form, and that's the reason why the crystal gems look more like magical warriors than aliens. So in my perfect world, all the Homeworld gems would look super freaky and otherworldly. Nitpick number 3. Bad filler. It's almost cliche to hate on filler episodes nowadays. I actually think that filler can provide a lot for a series. If a main arc feels like it's going way too fast, a filler episode can fix the pacing a bit. Hell, Pokemon Sun and Moon is like 95% filler and I love that show. The problem with Steven Universe, however, is that most of the filler episodes kinda suck. The show actually does something kinda neat with its storytelling by dividing up the filler and the plot between Steven's hometown and his adventures with the Crystal Fam. This kind of storytelling makes sense to me, because even though Steven is the key to saving the Earth and stopping a massive cosmic threat, he's also a normal teenager that does normal teenager stuff. To be fair, some of the relationships between him and his neighbors are pretty interesting, but this show spends so much time on relationships that we don't really care about that much. Alright, let's see who we can cut out here. Mr. Smiley can go, Ronaldo is completely unlikable, the second wrestling episode didn't need to exist, Buck Dewey can go, the Onion episodes were kind of weak. I feel like that Kiki and Jenny episode kind of came out of nowhere. Kevin shouldn't have been a reoccurring character. Nightmare Hospital kind of made Mrs. Maheshwaran look super incompetent, which I think was the opposite of what they were going for. And I could probably go on. Overall, the show could spend way less time on things that aren't important, and even so, they could do the less important things better than they're doing them now. My final verdict is basically this. The reason why Steven Universe falls flat sometimes is because it's inherently inconsistent. I think that in order for a series to maintain a certain level of quality, it needs to find a foothold and remain there. But Steven Universe lacks this aspect, because the way it presents its characters and story are far too wishy-washy. What are you doing? Oh, I was wondering when you'd show up to ruin my video. The only person ruining your video is yourself, Vapor. It's a waste of time. You're kind of a dick.
If my velocity starts to make you sweat, then just don't let go. And if the heaven ain't got a vacancy, then we just